Welcome to Kimbo's Crafts, or welcome back to Kimbo's Crafts. Today, I'm doing a very precious project, something near and dear to my heart. It is a memorial shadow box for my cat Louie, who has passed away rather recently. Louie was going to turn 16. He would have been 16 today, actually, but he passed away last month. And so, as part of his memorial, we've got an urn that's very precious and beautiful, and also I'm making this shadow box that will go next to it. And so I've collected a couple of items to include, and obviously I'm going to use one of his pictures, and I'm just going to go over some tricks, some ways to put together a shadow box, and ephemera that you can use for specifically a pet shadow box. I do personally find crafting, doing creative things can be really helpful, not only for mental health, but coming to terms with loss. It's kind of a meditative endeavor. So we'll start here with some of his ephemera, I believe is what we'll call it, his little items. I love this box, actually. This is hand carved locally. Our vet presented his remains, his ashes, and things in it. So I've been holding his items in here. So one thing I'm going to use here it's a piece of what was a pineapple. This is a pineapple that he slept in. I'm sure you might have seen it. I'll go ahead and include a link for any of our cat lovers out there who want to get something like that. But it was his favorite spot, so my husband wanted to include that. So this is something that I will be using. This is part of the top. I'll find a way to get that in there as well because it's beautiful. I've got this toy here. It does make chirps. I decided to go with a deep shadow box so I could have more 3D items. Much more space for large things like this, and it still makes noise. It's one of his favorites there. Some pipe cleaners. These will be really easily used, actually, in one of his common toys. So I'll work that into the composition as well. This is one of his favorite toys. His paw. These are really commonly put in shadow boxes. This will be one of the more difficult things to attach. So stay tuned for how that'll be done. And then I've got some more very much for my husband kind of items. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is attach our background, which will be the fabric. Something to keep in mind when using these things, there is organic material on all things, saliva, hair, those sorts of things. It is better to remove as much as possible, especially, well, it's a little difficult to do anything archival with organic material, but limit it as much as possible. So I do want to suggest some tips. If you're worried about bacteria and those sorts of items, you can put them in bag items individually, put them in a freezer, and then leave them there, and it'll kill organic materials. Mold, things like that can't take hold. I used a air duster to remove hair because that was the major thing that I had on everything. I've already done this as part of the preparation, but just an item to keep in mind. And then, of course, there's always Clorox wipes. I didn't go to that level, but if you're concerned about those sorts of things, you can. So I'm going to use basic pins to attach most of the fabric, most of the items actually, because I went with a background this is a velvet, is what it said, velvet. And so I went with a more easy to attach piece. Now I'm going to use these pins. I have different colors. You can get them with different, if you want more visible pins, you can get them with different decorations on here. Like these are candles. I've got shiny pins, white pins. With the background, I'm going to go with colors that are similar to what I'm attaching, just so they kind of fade into the background and they're not very visible. Okay, so now I've attached the background. I used pins and then I cut it to fit better so there wasn't too much overhang or bulk behind where it attaches. Keep in mind when you use fabric, you're going to get all sorts of little flyaways, but you could, if you wanted to, do hemming, those sorts of things. I was deciding to just go with a rough cut because it's going to be layered and should not be the focal point, just sort of a background. So I didn't want to put too much into that. Now I'm going to find a place to put his picture for the focal point. I think that is the best option there. Mostly because I'm going to put the heavier items, such as the toys, down below. And so I want his picture, which is more of a small item, up high. There's multiple ways you can attach it. Of course, you can use glue, tape, those sorts of things. I'm going to go with some more pins. And then I think I'm going to use the pipe cleaner around it as kind of a framing device. Pipe cleaner might strike everybody as very odd, but I can't help but think of him and pipe cleaner. So now before I get too far, I'm going to attach the paw print. These are very delicately made out of clay, so you have to be careful with them. Oh, it's the only one I have. Now, again, there's multiple ways you can attach it. Glue, super glue, those sorts of things. I want to make sure it is in there that I won't have to worry about glue failing. And so I'm going to actually stitch it with clear thread and kind of a basket to hold it securely. I'm going to do that now because I don't want to run the risk of there's being too much going on to be able to do this well. So you want a very sharp needle. You got to go through all those layers again. And again, we're going to make a basket kind of going over the corners to secure it. Okay, welcome back. I'm definitely cutting out all that extra struggle. Just so you know, if you struggle to do any sewing with clear, I think this is vinyl thread? Nylon. Clear nylon thread. You are not alone. It's not easy just seeing what's going on and also keeping control of it. I've had to add more pins, but as you can see here, I am anchoring it. I wrapped it again around a pin and I'm anchoring it directly into the felt background here, tying it a whole lot. If you do just the right amount of thread, I think you could just bury the needle in the felt like a pin, and that would have been preferable, but I ended up with too much. I didn't want to keep going back and forth and creating too much of a reflection. So let's get our pin back in here. Also really glad I decided not to do sewing all of the background. Now you see I have it basketed. Now I'm going to tip it over. And nothing is moving. It did help that I placed another pin in the background. I think I'll add another one across from it to help anchor the fabric because it's mostly the fabric holding it. I had a really difficult time getting into the felt in the back. So there. We've got the paw print in. And again, perfect. Next item on the list, I'm going to go with putting in these bead charms, alphabet bead charms. I got these for my scrapbooking. It's always good to have all sorts of alphabet stickers and things, and I thought it would be fun to have these charms. I have yet to use them in a layout. Clearly, as I've got a package here that's unopened. But I thought they would be perfect for this. In fact, I thought, oh, I should get those out. Now I want to get one of his nicknames, possibly both of his nicknames. There's 78 pieces here, so at least more than one set of alphabet, I hope. So we'll see what we can get out of it. Okay, so as you can see, I was able to get them pinned in. The pins are short, luckily. because they're going in at such an angle, they're not able to really tuck. They are sticking up a little bit, and luckily I have a deep shadow box, so I'm not too worried about that. They definitely are dangling. So if this box gets shaken up a little bit, they're probably going to land kind of funny, and with these bubbles in the fabric, that could also cause a little bit of that effect. But I like them. I like how they're turning out. So next we've got, these toys. I think they're going to go here. I've got these longer pins. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I have the perfect purple. I'm going to go straight through the elastic here on this toy. And again, it's a very shallow foam, so you got to go at just the right angle or bend your pin. There we go. We still have a white pin here. Definitely, the more pins we put in, the merrier. That is what's holding this whole thing together. And in about, what, 8 stitches? Come on. This one I'm not going to worry too much about pinning too much of it down. Really, I just want to make sure that if this box is shifted, moved, it doesn't end up somewhere hitting something else. So I just pinned it one time. I'll put another one somewhere else in its back just so it doesn't shift too much. But it's so large. Definitely don't want to pin it too much. There we go. I was going to put a zip tie in there. This was the last thing he actually ever played with. As funny as that might sound. But just knowing it's in there will give me some peace of mind. We've got this hole here, so I can position it. Now this is a, let's see, card, kind of custom card that my sister got for us years and years ago when my husband was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So he could use this as a card for that. I can't remember what they're called, placeholder, I think. Okay, so I had some difficulty finding a way of pinning the Louie card in because it is so thick. I went with gluing it in. It's never going to move now. That seemed to be the best option. There was no real way to tuck in a pin to hold it any better than that. Some last little things I have are heart stickers. I love these little waxy seal looking stickers here, and so I'm going to use it to sort of tie some things together. Okay, so now it's just up to me to do some cleanup, cut off the little extra edges here. I do have this decal. I got it forever ago for my husband. We never actually ended up using it. This is the best time to use it, really, because he was our cat's dad. So I'll be putting this on the window part of the shadow box, and then you'll see it in the finished product. Try to find the best place to put it so it doesn't obstruct the view. Stay tuned.